Good morning, everyone. I am Cristel Obispado from the UP Department of History. Welcome to the third episode of La Historia Olvidada, Filipinas-Mexico 2023, a virtual colloquium series on the historical, cultural, and diplomatic ties between the Philippines and Mexico. It is jointly organized by the Philippine Embassy in Mexico, the Department of History of the University of the Philippines, El Colegio de San Luis, and the Philippine-Mexico Studies Program of La Universidad Autónoma de Mexico. This lecture series is free and open to everyone interested in the Philippine-Mexico relations and the more extensive Asia-Latin American connections. We are currently being live streamed on the Embassy's YouTube channel. To search on YouTube, just type in at Mexico PE 2023, no space. We are honored to invite Her Excellency Lilibet de Apera, the Philippine Ambassador to Mexico, to deliver the welcome remarks.
Good evening, good morning to all our participants present in this event, including those who are joining us via our YouTube channel. I wish to welcome you all to the third episode of La Historia Olvidada, Filipinas-Mexico 2023. On behalf of the Embassy of the Philippines in Mexico, allow me to express my sincerest appreciation to our distinguished guest, speaker for the third episode of La Historia Olvidada, Filipinas-Mexico 2023, Ms. Maricruz Fiza Lopez, PhD candidate. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name, Ms. Fiza. She comes from El Colegio de Michoacan. She will talk on Southeast Asian cuisine on the Costa Grande of Guerrero. For those who do not know, it is said that most of the Filipinos who relocated to Mexico stayed in Guerrero. Likewise, my deepest appreciation to our partners and academic coordinators for this virtual colloquium series, the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Dr. Thomas Calvillo of El Colegio de San Luis, Dr. Ivan Valdez Buvnov of the Philippine-Mexico Studies Program based in Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, Dr. Cristel Obispado, and Third Secretary and Vice Consul Marisa Winkler. For 2023, this is our last episode. I hope that our participants since the first episode have gained a better understanding now of the deep historical and cultural ties that bind the Philippines and Mexico together. I look forward to having you all again in 2024. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po. Muchas gracias a todos. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you, Ambassador de Apera. We warmly welcome Dr. Ruel Pagunsan, the new head of the UP History Department, and kindly invite him to deliver a short message.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
To Maestra Maricruz Fiza Lopez, Ambassador Lilibet Diapera, to all the academic coordinators of this colloquia, colleagues in the Philippine Embassy in Mexico, University of the Philippines, El Colegio de San Luis, and the Philippine-Mexico Studies Program at UNAM. Magandang umaga, buenos dias, good morning from Manila. The Department of History of the University of the Philippines is delighted to co-sponsor this series of academic talks interrogating the economic, cultural, and social connections between the Philippines and Mexico that resonate beyond the historical years of the galleons. Food and all the associated ingredients, techniques, and traditions is one essential theme that opens new ways of thinking and understanding this complex historical relationship between the two countries and people. Today, the diplomatic and academic exchanges and cooperation between the two nations have continued to explore and highlight the shared historical and cultural experiences. I'm hoping that soon our academic cooperation will gain more attention and extend beyond Zoom seminars. Hopefully, with more financial and institutional support, we can pursue on-site conferences, exchange programs with students and faculty, and perhaps publication projects. From our end, the UP History Department is thankful for the initiatives of Dr. Cristel Obispado for making this cooperation possible. Maraming salamat po for attending this colloquia and looking forward to a fruitful academic sharing and discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pagunsan. Before we proceed to the lecture, we would like to acknowledge the presence of Honorary Consul Francisco Eduardo Q. Perez of Monterrey, Dr. Chick Padriquela of ICOMOS, of course, Dr. Ivan Valdez of the Philippine-Mexico Studies Program, Dr. Roberto Junco of El Instituto Nacional de Antropología y Historia, Vice Governor Mayling Quezon Brown from Siquijor, and Mr. Alberto Leite Hernandez and Mr. Sergio Aguirre Zamora from the Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores de Mexico. Now, to introduce our speaker for today's lecture, she is a PhD student in the history program at El Colegio de Michoacan. She has published and presented papers regarding the relations between the Philippines and Mexico. She was awarded by the National Institute of Anthropology and History the prestigious Francisco Javier Clavijero Prize in 2020 for her outstanding undergraduate thesis in history and ethnohistory. And I believe a chapter of which she will present today. No? Let's give a round of applause to Maestra Maricruz Pisa Lopez.
Thank you so much. I start this offering and apologize for my mispronunciation. Well, I'm greetings from Acapulco to the all people who are connected. Good afternoon in Mexico and good morning in Philippines. I would like to thank Dr. Cristel Obispado and all the institution for inviting me to participate in this colloquia on the history of Philippines-Mexico relations. I will now read the paper and, well, I can show my presentation. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, thank you. Well, the following presentation is the result of research done for my bachelor or degree in history. Southeast Asian cuisine on the Costa Grande of Guerrero, Mexico. Based on several questions such as how did the cultural exchange that developed during the Manila-Acapulco de León voyage manifested in the current gastronomy of the Costa Grande region in the state of Guerrero, Mexico? What role did the Chinese Indians or Indios Chinos play in the cultural exchange between the Philippines and New Spain? Through which elements was the transformation of the gastronomy along the coast of Acapulco and its surrounding areas made possible? The main objective of this presentation is to analyze the Filipino influence preserved in the coast of Acapulco and its surrounding or their hinterland as a cultural heritage of the migrants who arrived aboard the galleon of Manila. The historical sources what I used, I made use sources from General Archivo General de la Nación de México, la Biblioteca Nacional de España, various manuscripts sourced from both the Philippines and New Spain, such as relaciones geográficas, diccionarios, vocabularios, and recetarios. Finally, I visited several towns on the coast near Acapulco to learn how some traditional dishes were prepared. Now, I remember that in the first session of this colloquium, my teacher, the Dr. Paulina Machuca, spoke about the relation established between Mexico and New Spain and the Philippines from the ports of Acapulco and Cavite during the 2015 years that the trade of Manila Galleon or Acapulco Galleon between 1565, when the navigator Fray Andrés de Urdaneta discovered the voyage from the Philippines to New Spain, and until 1815, when the War of Independence had broken out. The arrival of Indios Chinos and the New Spain. A group of people from the Philippines archipelago and different parts of Southeast Asia, as well as from China, Japan, India, Portugal, and some parts of Africa, entering through this route. The free individuals of Filipinos origin fulfilled different functions on the galleon. Among others, they served as a cabin boys, servants, caulkers, carpenters, and others, with salaries ranging from 48 to 60 pesos a year. However, this was not enough compared to the risk of returning to the Philippines. So many of them opted to remain in Spain. Thus, it is estimated that between
Usar la palabra en español, vamos a traducir si necesita.
5,000 y 20,000 personas.
5,020 persons.
Thank you. Settled in different places. All these migrants who arrived aboard the galleon were known as Indios Chinos or Chinese Indians, without making a distinction between their different places of origin. Although the migration was smaller in comparison with the Spaniards and Africans who entered through the Atlantic route, the knowledge and skill that the Indios Chinos brought with them helped in the process of integration into the economy and society of New Spain territory. Some of their social characteristics were that in Mexico City, they worked as domestic servants, spinners, weavers, and porters. On the other hand, the main places of work of the Indios Chinos were in agricultural areas between Colima and Acapulco, among other reasons to the fall of the cocoa production in the second half of the 16th century on the New Spain coast. Coconut cultivation acquired its own boom, especially from the production of coconut while this state. Let's remember that these seeds was introduced in the coast of the South Sea, first by navigator Álvaro de Mendaña in 1679, when emerging in Salagua, and later in 1680 by orders of the viceroy Martín Enríquez de Almanza by Acapulco. The seed of the coconut tree managed to acclimate easily and quickly along this coast, with greater success in the region of Colima and Motines, as well in the coast of Acapulco on Zacatula, located to the west of the port of Acapulco. Due to their importance, these individuals had their own legal representative, the alcalde mayor of the Chinese Indians, who acted as representative of the worker and collector of tribute. It is also important to note that since most of the migrants were men, the way in which they were incorporated into the society was through exogamous marriage, mainly with Indian women, and to a lesser extent with women of African origin. The Indios chinos in the ports of Acapulco. In particular, in the port of Acapulco, los indios chinos employed by the Royal Port Service included roles such as net makers, carpenters, caulkers, sentries, and blacksmiths. In the Royal Hospital of Nuestra Señora de la Consolación, individuals such as also Indio Alonso Chino and Gaspar Chino worked as cooks, while others like Agustin Chino and Francisco Gali served as porters. In 1717, they participate in the construction of the fort of San Diego and resided in the San Francisco, San Nicolas, and San Jose neighborhoods. In 1675, Joaquin Rodriguez Chino purchased a piece of land from Spaniard Diego Jimenez, located near the parish. Well, the presence of Indios Chinos in Acapulco and its hinterland or nearly coast, the port of Acapulco was not the only place where these migrants settled. On the contrary, they dispersed for more than 500 kilometers.
15,000. 500 kilometers? Sorry.
Here it is. East of Acapulco, along the province of Zacatula. This is Acapulco, Port of Acapulco, and this is west. This is the provincia de Zacatula, and this is provincia de Igualapa. Where in Zacatula they found various economic opportunities to work in the cocoa and coconut plantation of the region. Thus, the emblematic place of this coast was the Barrio de San Nicolás. This way, Barrio de San Nicolás de Chinos, located on the shores of a lagoon where many Filipinos migrants or Indios Chinos settled and formed families with native women. Among the declaration of the Chinese Indians who lived there in 1765, it was said that neighbor had its beginnings in old days when the Filipinos Indians who came from Manila on the annual galleon as their return approach went from the port to take refuge in that place because it was comfortable and not very distant. And as many of them stayed and married Indian from other towns. Increased in such a way that today it's composed of a very large number of families and individuals, and is a formal reduction with its chapel and in the corresponding adornments with its solar houses, orchards, and pieces of lands, in which they sow rice, corn, cotton, and take the fruits of their trees, of which look are kept subject in the spiritual thing to their praise, and the temporal things to justice of said jurisdiction. This example can be reproduced along Zacatula between places such as the Talnespa, Petatlan, and village of Zacatula itself, which were inhabited by Indios Chinos. As previously explaining by the Doctora Paulina Machuca, The geographical similarities between the Philippines, Iceland, and the Pacific coast of New Spain made possible the exchange and adaptation of diverse groups between these latitudes. Some researchers mentioned the introduction of the less to 230
230. 230.
230 botanical species of Asian origin to New Spain over the course of
250 years.
250 years of trans-Pacific trade. The economy incentive of these routes was important for the Spaniards, but it was the Indios Chinos who exploited and spread them throughout the region, and the coconut palm is the best example. On his return from Solomon Islands in 1579, the Spaniard Álvaro de Mendaya arrived to the port of Salagua and brought with him coconut seeds and began planting them. But besides the coconut, the rice seeds was of vital importance because if the Indios Chinos would have modified their diet by adopting the products obtained from the place where they settled, such as corn and beans. They complement it with their own seed, the rice that they sowed in the swampy lands and rivers and lagoons. Historically, the first records dating from 1730 refer to the town of Cacalutla as a part of the teeth that the affected ate Indios Chinos. The consumption of this seeds lasted throughout the colonial era, such that in 1726, the province of Zacatula would have eaten 150 arrobas of rice, and to 1720 in 1758
Jared, Mr. Jared Osdana, can you mute him? Do we have an option to mute him? Mr. Jared Osdana? Okay, thank you. Please, everyone, we remind you to please mute your microphone and yeah, thank you.
The consumption of these seeds lasted throughout the colonial era, such that in 1726, the province of Zacatula would have tasted 115 arrobas of rice and 720 in 1768, a little less than half that of corn in that the same year. If the people of the Costa Grande, former province of Zacatula, are currently unaware that rice consumption originated with Asian migrants, then even up to the 1960s, cultivate macan rice. We find several similarities between rice cultivation in the Philippines and the Costa Grande. On the one hand, rice in the Philippines has two types of cultivation: land cultivation and rice cultivation. Soil preparation, slash and burn techniques with the help of a bolo in low-lying areas, transplanting what practice along the banks of tributaries. Root clearing, tree stage, palay, pinagua, and bigas. The use of the pilon to house the grain. On another hand, until 1961, mac and rice oil was cultivated near natural tributaries. The land was cleared before the rainy season, sowing in seedbeds between June and July, transplanted after 30 days. New land depend of the natural flooding of rivers, lagoons. They say the peon has arrived. With the flooding of the river and streams, the grass died, and it was said because the characters of rice field no longer had to work to clean the field. The Battleland pests and care. The drawing shown is this drawing show is a representation of Battleland from the Costa Grande, which was used to ward the rice fields from birds and pests that could affect the crops. Finally, the harvest took place between October and November. We also found the peste for husking. In the same way, in the research we did, we could see that to clean the husk of the rice seed, a pilon was used as the one shown in the photograph on the right. This picture, which is very similar to the pilon used by the Filipinos for the same activity, according to the painter Gervasio Gironella and his album Vistas de las Islas Filipinas, made in 1845, 1407. And this short video, my friend Julio Cesar and Mr. Germán did use the favor of demonstrating the use of the pilon, which, as we will see, is nothing more than reproduction of what practiced in Philippine Island. But rice is not only crop of Asian origin on the coast near Acapulco. Among others, we have the plantain, multiple entry to the New Spain from the middle of the 15th century. Don Vasco de Quiroga introduced it to the bishopric, el obispado de Michoacán. In 1507, its origin was doubted due to its strong roots in the region. Its properties against tuberculosis were attributed to it. Cañafístula, the first purgative of foreign origin, used in New Spain, introduced by White the Atlantic from the first half of the 16th century. Medicinal properties: red poppy, mango, and almond. Oils, fruits, grooms, infusion, and ointments. Nanca or lanca, or of medicinal use by midwives for belly pains or to remove dead babies. Yaca, it's a piece of 3 kilos, sells for 2 250 pesos in Acapulco. Uh,
250.
Thank you. The gastronomy, the coconut tree and rice in Novo Hispanic gastronomy. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz and the coconut ante was made in 17th century. The great cookbook, Libro de Cocina del hermano Fray Jerónimo de San Pelayo, and dos manuscritos mexicanos, but from the 18th century. They made buñuelos de arroz, cazuela de arroz, arroz con leche a la portuguesa, as well as rice tamales. The Novo Hispanic recipe book, it's the coconut is grated and poured into a new casserole that has already been served, but not with lard. It is put on the fire and stirred until it gets hot, and then it is strained through a napkin so that a cup of coconut water comes out. Almonds are added that have already been prepared. Everything is stirred with 4 egg yolks, and it is put on the fire until it takes the point that one wants. Part of these repents can be found in the preparation of various sweets that they currently consuming between the coasts of Guerrero and Colima, such as cocadas, sweets made from shredded coconut and sugar, and tamarindo sweets. Well, the gastronomy in the Costa Grande, similarities with the Philippines. Well, the Philippines practice ordinary diet, rice cooked in water and dried fish. The rice was cooked with dab leaves, similar to almond tree. The viands were fried with coconut oil, and preservation of fish by dehydrating and sun drying. Philippines practice in Costa Grande.
Ilang patas? Do you really love your mama love?
Sorry, I don't think I have the option to mute Marisa, but Miss Marisa, please mute your microphone. Yeah, I don't have the option to mute her. Marisa? Okay, thank you. I think the default mode should be mute, no? So please, everyone, we kindly request you to mute your microphone. Thank you so much.
Philippines practice in Costa Grande. The rice is cooked only in water without salt. 2.5 measures of water for 1 measure of rice. Lantern or almond leaves were used to cook rice. Use of coconut oil in cooking. Coconut milk is used to prepare dessert and mango and plantain atolls. Likewise for frying beans. The consumption of the rice in Costa Grande, it's equal with the tortilla. The traditional dish of Costa Grande is a morisqueta, rice and beans, and fish. It is largely a reproduction of Filipino origin as described in the Codex Boxer, a manuscript of the late 16th century, which states that their ordinary food is a little rice cooked in water only, and a little sun-dried fish that smells bad, and this is what they have for food. Among the results obtained in the investigation, we found that in the great Costa Grande de Guerrero, 2 important dishes are still prepared whose Filipino origin is unknown by the current population of the place. We are talking about Linogao, also known as Sambaripao, and Ginatan, which I will talk about next. Although is ignored in these the inhabitants of the Costa Grande de Guerrero, its name refers you to the Philippines Islands because according to Tagalog language vocabulary, the meaning of this word is brothy rice or seaweed with loads of water, atole. On this side of the Pacific, in a home in the neighborhood of the El Paco, San Jerónimo, Doña Higinia Galeana, who in 2018 was 90 years old, is the keeper of the Linogao recipe. Between talks, she recalled that when she was a child, her grandmother used to prepare it in the following way. First, the beans are cooked and removed from the fire. In a separate pot, make the rice, 2 cups of water for 1 cup of rice, and while it begins to boil, the bean balls are machacado. That is to say, they are crushed. Once the rice is soft and with little water, the beans are added, so that the beans or the rice will not be hard because it will be overcooked. This means that if any of the ingredients are not well cooked, the incorporation process stops. Finally, the last touch is another element of Filipino taste, as it is tastier if you add coconut milk. You grate the coconut as if it were ginatan. Just the same, you make the linogao to the way you want it watered down. The description of the dish coincides with the Filipino concept itself. Moreover, the K is found in the final sentence of Doña Higinia when she indicated that the coconut milk should be added at the end, and the amount will depend on the consistency preferred by the cook. In addition to the above, this lady told me that although her family called it linogao, a neighbor, Mrs. Pepita Gomez, called it sambaripao. In the same neighborhood, Mr. Francisco Arciniega told me that this food is a morisqueta that shall not be dried. First, the beans are cooked, and when they are cooked blanditos, rice is boiled, and before it begins to boil, the beans and broth are added to finish cooking together. On the other hand, other neighbors pointed out that is a dessert passed on rice with piloncillo, which reminds us of the Philippine bico bigas that is prepared with boiled glutinous rice, coconut milk, and brown sugar. As if this were not enough, we know that towards the end of the 17th century, the English sailor William Dampier noted that English sailors learned to boil rice with coconut milk, as in Southeast Asia and part of India. In contrast, Ginatan acquired a higher level of mastication in which ingredients of Asia, Mesoamerican, and Mediterranean origin are combined. Along the coast between Acapulco and Zihuatanejo, Ginatan is a dish consisting of dried fish, bathed in coconut milk and guajillo chili, garlic, salt, and oregano, and is recognized by the collective of traditional cooks of as originary in the municipality of Coyuca de Benítez. This is the same territory where the descendants of Filipinos who arrived aboard the galleon founded the aforementioned Barrio de Chinos, San Nicolás. Strictly speaking, the Filipino word ginatang refers to a dish prepared with coconut milk or gata. That is why in the Philippines we find a great variety of ginatang dishes that are not necessarily sweet, but some of them are also savory. For its preparation, it is necessary that the selected coconut already has a dry shell, because if it is tender or seasoned, it will not release much meat. For its part, the core, the bonote, the fibrous part of the shell, is used as firewood in the stove. Once the water is extracted from the fruit, the coconut is peeled, grated, and liquefied with its own water and little plain water. The resulting mixture is poured into a earthenware pot and boiled with a regular flame. While it boils, do not stir but only remove the cream that forms on the walls and the careful return into cacerola. The milk is ready approximately 50 minutes. It's important that during this time, the person who cooks does not move away from the stove, since the cream runs the risk of burning. While this cooking is being monitored, the guajillo chile is cleaning. The seeds and veins are removed so that it's not sting. Then the chile are roasted and ground with garlic, salt, and oregano to taste. In this images we show the coconut graders in Costa Grande. I find in the El Paco. It is wooden roof with a spike tip on which the person sits and grate the coconut. This practice is very similar to the Kratai Kutmaprao from Thailand, and even similar ones from Philippines. While doing field work, I was able to like part of the cultural experience surrounding the ginatang during its elaboration. As soon as I arrived to the house of Mr. Francisca Arciniega in the neighborhood of the El Paco, where I would be taught how to prepare it, I had the audacity to take photographs of the stuffs and Mrs. Maria Soledad Loesa, but without asking her permission. In return, and with good reason, the response I got was gestures of annoyance and comments like, "Aren't you are you pregnant? Don't cut my milk." According to the popular tradition, this means having bad thoughts or negative feelings towards something or someone. This type of belief is also found among several traditional Mexican cooks when preparing atoles, rompopes, or some milk punches, which are susceptible to cutting in the presence of strangers. That is to say, it is no longer used for the recipe as a widely nogao. Because of all its implication, it is increasingly difficult for people to prepare ginatang. After having apologized Befriended Mr. Soler, I was able to stay there for the rest of procedure. So when the milk finally began to boil, I could see the layer of oil that formed, and we had to wait for a few seconds to see the chiriki or surmuta, that is residue of the ground coconut. At that moment, Doña Sole, as she asked me to call her, began to gently stir the milk with a lead to prevent it from sticking and burning. Immediately, the milk acquired a brownish tone, and then she placed the fish inside the cacerola and covered them with the chirriqui. She then took the blender, poured the mixture into the guinatan, and let it boil. There is predilection for one fish particular for this dish, and that is cuatete or American catfish, which according Doña Soledad must be from the river or lagoon, because if it is from the sea, it does not release good flavor. Moreover, it must be aerated for at least 3 days and roasted before being incorporated into the coconut milk, so that it releases more flavor. On the other hand, if there is excess oil in the casserole, it is set aside and keep a container to be used or in other steps, or as remedy to cure the evil eye of children. This was recalled by Mr. Francisca and Mrs. Soledad when they mentioned that in times of economic precariousness, the availability of the coconut tree facilitate the use of its oil for day-to-day life. They also mentioned that in times of crisis, when they could not buy fish, they prepared and consumed guinatan with rice only, since guinatan was the sauce and not the meat. But the linagao and guinatan are not the only dishes in the Costa Grande. We also have some drinks that underwent transformation in the preparation to the influence of the Indios Chinos. This is the chilate. It's a traditional Mesoamerican beverage originally made from corn and toasted cocoa. In regions like Puebla and Oaxaca and other states from Mexico, it has evolved into soury broth, typically prepared with chicken, guajillo chili, onion, yerba santa, and epazote. In Central America, it's consisting of a corn roll flavored with pepper, cinnamon, and cocoa. Its predecessor was a drink made of fermented corn, atol juco. In Guerrero, particularly originating from Asoyu, chilate is consumed as a drink made from cocoa roasted and ground on a metate. To this, rice and soaked cinnamon are added along with a few pinches of green gingers and pepper. All these ingredients are ground together and dissolved in water. This drink, rooted in pre-Hispanic tradition, uniquely incorporates elements from Asian cuisine. On the other hand, tuba is a beverage that is still consumed on the Mexican Pacific coast, particularly between Colima and Acapulco. The Dr. Paulina Machuca points out that the method of extraction has changed little or nothing between the archipelago and the southwestern Mexican coast, despite the facts that its introduction occurred more than 100 years ago. In the archipelago, it is a drink destined to the adult population, since its richer seven level of alcohol and something mangrove brag is added to it, a practice that apparently dates back to the colonial times. On the other hand, in Colima, fermentation is avoided, and in some cases, it is sold as a tuba compuesta, to which some fruits and seeds are added. Broadly speaking, the steps to obtain it in about latitude are as follows. First, it is necessary to make cuts the palm tree as steps. Once up, the inflorescences of the coconut palm is also cut with a very fine knife called sangot in bohol, so that the sap emanates excuse me, then it's covered with a coconut cloth and container is tied with isle in Colima palm leaf in the Visayas. To store the tuba in bohol, this is a bamboo instrument called kawit. The tuba is lowered every 12 hours in the morning and in the afternoon, collecting between 1 liter or 2 liters a day, so that finally it is strained and transported to its point of sale. Well, procedure that coincides with the one carried out in the Tomatal population were located in the vicinity of the El Paco and Atoyac, where steps are made up to the tip of the penca. All the dry coconuts and the tender ones of a spoon are conked down. It is necessary that the palm is giving birth to many clusters, and the bottom of the coconut is long. Before the wood bursts, a small cook is taken out to bend it 3 times of mar. Okay. Well, Pauline Machuca also observed that the motor habit was preserved in the way transporting the tuba in the marangon, that is, who sacked the sap in Bohol and in Colima, where the itinerant tuba seller carries his product on his back, holding it with a stick called burrita, in the classic way of carry liquids in some Asia countries as the Filipinas or China, as shown in the image of center. The same method of which we have graphic evidence of tuba pretzels in Acapulco on the in the Chilpancingo some consideration the ecological and cultural impacts of the Asian diaspora along the coast of Acapulco and its surrounding during the 200 years of the Manila Galleon trade have left enduring marks that are still evident today. The introduction of groups from Southeast Asia cultivated by the Indios Chinos played a significant role in shaping a unique gastronomy in the Zacatula Coast region. Dishes like linogao and ginatang exemplify this influence. Original Filipino dishes are now recognized as mestizo cuisine, reflecting the integration and coexistence of these migrants with people of African, Mesoamerican, and European descent. This fusion of culinary practice represents more than mere food. It signifies the indigenous and transformative agents of culture, introducing and perpetuating the practice from the Malaya world into the local culture.
Okay, thank you so much, Maestra Maricruz, for your important discussion about the participation of Filipino migrants in the Mexican economy. We usually listen to discussions regarding the influence of Mexico in the Philippines, so it's refreshing to learn about the impact of Filipino and Asian cuisine on the western coast of Mexico. Before we proceed to the question and answer session, I would like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues from UP History Department and my History 161 students, History of Latin America from 1821 to the present, who have accompanied us from the first episode of Historia Olvidada. Thank you so much. We would like to call on Dr. Daisy Lopez to facilitate the question and answer session.
Present. Yes, I'm here.
If you have a question or comment, you can use Zoom's question and answer or chat function or Zoom's raise hand function. And we kindly request you to state your name and affiliation. Perhaps we can start from the question sent earlier by the participants just to inspire others to ask questions. Dr. Daisy Lopez.
Okay, there's a question here. Yo lo voy a decir ya en español, ¿no? Cómo aprovechar al máximo, how to maximize, cómo aprovechar al máximo the role of food and beverage, el papel de la comida y la bebida in cuisine in general, en la cocina en general, as a point of connection, como punto de enlace, como punto de conexión between the Filipinos and the Mexicans, entre los filipinos y los mexicanos. Y dice además, and it says, in spite of the cultural differences that and the norm differences that exist, a pesar de las diferencias de la cultura y de las normativas.
Sí, gracias. A ver, si entendí la pregunta, es cómo aprovechar estos puntos de encuentro de la mejor manera de la cocina como puntos de encuentro entre México y Filipinas.
Sí, precisamente sí.
Pues yo pienso que es la...
Profesora Mari.
Sí.
Sí, Maricruz, sí, continúa,
Sí.
por favor.
Sí, no iba a hacer un...
Sí, ha parado, ¿cómo es?
Sí.
Sí, continúa, por favor.
Sí, ok.
Bueno, pues desde un punto de vista histórico, creo que nos ayuda a entendernos como una sociedad que ha estado en una permanente transformación, en una construcción y que no ha estado aislada, sobre todo en estos momentos de en la actualidad, de grandes movilizaciones o grandes movimientos migratorios. Podemos erradicar un punto de vista es que olvidé la palabra.
Okay, yeah, may I translate what you have just said? It's quite a lot. So from a historical viewpoint, it's also good that we see that there have been changes, transformation, because of the evolution that normally happens. But we can see that there could be, from general standpoint, we can also see the similarities, and you wanted to continue.
Sí, para luchar contra la xenofobia, pues es vernos como una sociedad que hemos estado en constante transformación, en un intercambio y
Okay.
que
Yes, we all have to struggle against that xenophobic attitude, that attitude of fearing or being a little negative or having a reactive attitude towards foreigners or something that is not ours. And this is something that we have to look for and to struggle because we form one society. You're talking about the international community, yes.
pues esa sería mi respuesta por ahora, no sé si.
Okay, so that is going to be my answer for now. Maybe there could be other things, so we can continue with the discussion.
Creo que Anthony primero y después José Fernando, ¿no? Anthony, sí, por favor.
Buenas noches, soy Anthony. Soy filipino, vivo en Aguascalientes,
Okay.
profesor de gastronomía en Universidad Panamericana, Campus
So,
Aguascalientes.
okay, his name is
Sí, una
Anthony.
pregunta. Yeah,
¿Puedo traducir al inglés?
sí.
Sí, para los participantes que no entienden el español.
Okay.
Okay, so se llama
Good
Anthony.
evening, good evening
he is a-
everybody. Perdón,
I
doctora.
It's English
it's okay
speaking,
with
so
you?
there's no
Okay.
need to.
Sí.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
from Aguascalientes. Adelante.
Soy filipino.
Ajá,
Sí,
okay, yeah.
doctora, ¿puedes me introducir en inglés?
Ajá.
Sí.
You can speak in English, Anthony. So
Okay, perfect. So good evening, everybody. I'm Anthony Gerard Gomez Florentino. I'm Filipino. I'm from Aguascalientes, Mexico. I'm a professor in gastronomy in Universidad Panamericana, Campus Aguascalientes. I've been living here for 3 years now. And actually, it's very interesting how to see the vestiges of Filipino cuisine and Filipino habits in some of the Mexican habits as well. So, una pregunta, doctora. Maestra. Sí. Una pregunta, maestra. ¿En español o en inglés?
You're free to speak. En español si quieres, okay, go.
Okay. So, maestra, ¿cuál es tu impacto en este momento, de, ¿cómo se llama? De cultura filipino, porque I noticed from your study it's more of Indo-Chinese, ¿no? So Filipino, ¿no? So soy filipinos en este momento en Guerrero, ¿no? What are the impacts right now? I mean, I'm in the center of the country in Aguascalientes. No hay filipinos en Aguascalientes. Son 3, mi esposa, yo y mi hija. Pero I just want to know now in Guerrero, I mean, what were the Filipino, what do you call this, contributions? Besides, because I'm a chef and the cuisine is very important to me. I mean, are there still remaining Filipino traditions in cuisine in Guerrero? I am just very curious. Thank you.
Pues,
Maestra, entendido, ¿no?
Sí.
Okay.
Gracias. Pues en la actualidad, bueno, durante la investigación que realicé, pude contactar con una familia de origen filipino. Es un músico que llegó alrededor de la década de los 60 aquí a Acapulco, pero solamente él, su esposa es mexicana y su hija es mexicana también. También sé de un restaurante filipino que se llama El Filipino, que está ubicado en el centro de la ciudad. Sin embargo, creo que tienen o se reúnen para las celebraciones de las relaciones entre México y Filipinas. Sin embargo, hasta donde tengo entendido, no han conformado un grupo como tal de filipinos en Acapulco y menos en la costa. Entonces, pues durante la investigación me di cuenta que que la población ignora los orígenes filipinos. Siempre se cree que estos platillos como el inogao o el guinatán, pues los cocinaban desde hace muchos años en esta región, pero se ignoran sus orígenes e incluso la historia filipina, la historia de las relaciones entre México y Filipinas están vedadas para la población. Así que, pues en realidad no podríamos hablar como del impacto de la influencia filipina en la actualidad, sino en el pasado, sí, reconocer todas las aportaciones que hubo, pero en la actualidad, hasta donde yo sé, no hay un grupo o no hay reconocimiento aún como tal de estos intercambios o de esta influencia dentro de la gastronomía costeña. No sé si con eso respondo a su pregunta.
Doctora, maestra, maybe we could colaborar en intercambio con Elías, Elías, porque sí hay muchas posibilidades para proyectos en hacer una investigación.
Sí, sí, sí. Sí, pues esa sería como una segunda parte de la investigación. Optar pues sí, por el reconocimiento de esta influencia, pero no sé si se pudiera hablar como los movimientos de reivindicación de los afro que actualmente están en movimiento, en auge, porque pues los afrodescendientes de alguna u otra manera pues han sufrido un mayor nivel de discriminación. En cambio, los descendientes de los filipinos hasta durante el siglo XIX es posible que se haya, por decir de alguna manera, perdido la memoria colectiva de estas personas en la costa. Entonces, pues más bien sería un reconocimiento histórico y no tanto como, como un movimiento actual, sino como un reconocimiento histórico sobre la influencia que mantenemos y las prácticas que se mantienen en la actualidad en esta zona, en esta región.
Gracias, maestra.
Okay, José Fernando, por favor.
Buenos días a todos, todas. Good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga sa lahat. I can make my question in Spanish. There's no problem.
Sí,
Okay.
sí.
Bueno, sé que estás principalmente enfocada en los estudios de la Costa Chica de Guerrero. Sin embargo, me gustaría saber si en tu investigación contemplas también los vínculos gastronómicos que podrían existir en otras regiones que trascendieran de la zona de la costa guerrerense, ya que, por ejemplo, creo que un elemento muy importante que es de personal interés para mí, ya que soy de la región, es que en Tierra Caliente hay un consumo de camote morado muy considerable, como un postre, y el camote morado en realidad es básicamente uve. Entonces, no sé si esa relación también podría extenderse a otras zonas de la región guerrerense, y no sé si también podrías contemplarla, pero ese es un vínculo que a mí me interesa, bueno, que personalmente creo que también está por estudiarse, que en realidad el consumo del camote morado y del ube tienen un vínculo transpacífico bastante fuerte que no se ha destacado a plenitud. Entonces, no sé si es algo que ya tengas en consideración, pero está ahí presente. Sería todo. Muchas gracias.
Gracias por su comentario. La región en la que me enfoqué fue Costa Grande, entre Acapulco y Zihuatanejo. Sin embargo, también visité Costa Chica, pero debido al predominio de los afrodescendientes, pues donde es más visible el dejo filipino es en esta región de la antigua provincia de Zacatula. Ahora en cuanto a lo de Tierra Caliente, precisamente, bueno, no muestra el mapa, pero la introducción de la palma de coco que se dio por dos vías, una por Colima y otra por Acapulco. El historiador Gerardo Sánchez Díaz ha demostrado que la diseminación de la palma de coco comenzó en Colima, se distribuyó por toda la costa de Michoacán y subió hacia la zona de Tierra Caliente. Ahí en Tierra Caliente también se encontró el uso del pilón. Yo ya no pude, debido a pues la premura de la tesis de licenciatura, solo me enfoqué en una región del estado, pero sí, no hay duda de que en Tierra Caliente hubo asentamientos filipinos de indios chinos. De hecho, en los padrones del siglo XVII del Obispado de Michoacán registra a varios grupos de chinos en esta zona de la Tierra Caliente del Obispado de Michoacán, y pues por lo tanto debieron haber dejado alguna de sus prácticas. También quizá no conserven los nombres, como es el caso del guinatano del Linogao, pero sí, los procedimientos o los ingredientes o diferentes tipos de prácticas gastronómicas. También encontramos el uso del pilón. Bueno, eso es, en la investigación del doctor Sánchez Díaz, el uso del pilón, el consumo del arroz, y creo que hay una preparación, no sé si es del frijol dulce, como muy parecido al de Japón. Yo tengo una amiga que es también de Tierra Caliente, y mientras hacía la investigación yo le contaba a ella los hallazgos, y me fue pues también comentando de todos estos platillos que usted menciona y que ella mencionaba también. Sin embargo, pues eso ya no pude continuar, y la investigación, esa es una de las vías o sí, de las líneas de investigación que pueden quedar abiertas para cualquier persona que se interese en los intercambios que existieron y que se mantienen en la actualidad. Sí.
Okay, we request Dr. Daisy Lopez to translate her answer, please. Please unmute your microphone, Dr. Daisy Lopez.
Okay, I will just have to tell you that I didn't listen to everything that was said of this last one, because I thought I only had to translate if Maestra Maricruz would not understand the English, and everything had been in Spanish.
Sorry, participants.
Yeah, that's why. So the very last one, I will have to ask for a little bit more of indulgence there. But initially, there was this question about the impact of the Filipino cuisine, because the investigation, the research highlighted more the Indo-Chinese, no, or the Indios Chinos, and the way they were preparing the food. And it seemed that it was, Maricruz said that there was, in Acapulco, she only knew one Filipino musician, and the wife is Mexican, and she says also the daughter is Mexican, and there is a restaurant, precisely the name is Filipino. So there seems to be a lack of that historical awareness, or it seems that there is a problem in that collective memory. We do not really talk much about the Filipino, specifically the Filipino influence of the cuisine in Mexico, in that western part of Mexico. There was also, I think previous to that, an intervention that said that in Aguascalientes, there are only 3. And I think this was Mr. Jose Fernando, the wife, and the daughter. And so he was thinking that there could be some collaboration that they can have in order to revive that influence of that the Filipino cuisine. And I think in the last one, it was, if I remember it right, talking about that purple camote, which is actually ube, ube in our country, that is also very much used both in Mexico and also in the Philippines as well. And Dr. Cristil, if there could be something, especially the last part that I did not really pay
Fernando.
much attention. Yeah, when you said that, I only had to translate if Maricruz cannot understand. So it's
Sorry,
not that
sorry
I
for,
did. Yeah, it's not that I didn't pay attention, but maybe I was understanding, but I didn't pay much
okay, ma'am.
attention to the details in order to recollect. Yeah, or
It's
to
okay.
recount them.
Sorry for
Yeah,
the
it's okay.
misunderstanding.
It's
Maricruz,
okay.
puedes repetir tu respuesta, la última parte, por favor?
I'm sorry.
Está bien, sí. Sí, pues la influencia filipina no se restringe a la costa del estado de Guerrero o la costa del Pacífico Novohispano, sino que se puede rastrear hacia el interior. La zona de la Tierra Caliente es un buen ejemplo porque, por ejemplo, en los registros en los padrones del siglo XVII de esa región se han encontrado establecimientos de filipinos que se mantuvieron ahí durante toda la época colonial. Entonces, donde se rastreen grupos de indios chinos durante este periodo, es posible encontrar dejos en la actualidad, ya sea en la gastronomía o en el léxico del lugar.
Okay. So the Filipino impact or the influence of Filipino cuisine is not only in Guerrero and that the part of Mexico, but you can even go inland. Very significant example is Tierra Caliente, where in the records that she found, even in the 17th century, there already have been settlements. And once more, she repeated the Indo-Chinese, Indo-Chino influence that was very strong during that colonial period. And the influence, the impact is not only in gastronomy, in the cuisine, in the preparation of food, but also in the lexicon or in the vocabulary that's used.
Okay, muchas gracias, Dr. Daisy López. Marina, puedes hacer tu pregunta en español y también, ¿no? Maricruz puede responder en español y después vamos a pedir a Dr. Daisy López
Okay.
para para todos, ¿no?
Gracias.
Marina.
Bueno, soy Marina, parte del programa de estudios Filipinos-México de la UNAM. Bueno, primero felicitarte por un maravilloso tema que justo, como bien dices, no se toca como parte de las raíces asiáticas, ¿no? Pareciera en como no borrarla de nuestra historia conjunto, ¿no? Y me parece fantástico que hagas estos trabajos. Mi duda, bueno, más bien como mi interés está en saber si has podido rastrear en los archivos si hubieron indiochinos o filipinos que fueron traídos de Filipinas a la costa para trabajar en los campos de cacao, o si viceversa hubieron gente que se enviaron ya sean negros o sobre todo esclavos negros a Filipinas para trabajar en los campos cacaoteros.
Okay, may I translate now? So Marina she forms part of the Philippine-Mexican Studies program of the UNAM. And first of all, she wanted to congratulate our speaker for a wonderful study, research. And for her, really, we cannot eradicate this idea, the impact of the Filipino cuisine in Mexico. And now she has a doubt, and she said, better yet, a curiosity, if there were Filipinos who were sent from the Philippines to the coast where there are cacao farms, or vice versa, if the other way around, if there were some people from Mexico, even Black people who were sent to another place, right? Did you say to the Philippines? You didn't say you just said vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. to work on the farmlands of cacao?
Gracias. Marina, muchas gracias. Estaba bien nerviosa. Bueno, respecto a tu pregunta, justamente la historiadora, la doctora Débora Oropesa, es quien, ella junto a la doctora Paulina Machuca y Furlan, olvidé ahorita el nombre, pero de apellido Furlan, otro historiador, han hecho, Tatiana Seijas, han hecho investigación sobre la inserción de los indios chinos en en la sociedad y en la economía novohispana. Y precisamente entre los resultados que han obtenido es que uno de los principales lugares donde se introdujeron y se adaptaron esos migrantes fue dentro de las haciendas cacauteras, en principio durante el siglo XVI, a lo largo de la costa novohispana del Pacífico. Posteriormente, con la introducción del cacao de Guayaquil, hubo una caída de la economía cacautera en la Nueva España y en su lugar hubo un boom del coco y de la producción del vino de cocos. Entonces, si la semilla del cocotero representaba un beneficio económico para los españoles, pues como mencionamos, fueron los indios chinos quienes enseñaron todas las técnicas y todas las maneras de manejar y de cultivar esta semilla. Entonces, estas haciendas cocoteras fueron los principales lugares en los que ingresaron estos indios chinos, y ahí fue donde se mestizaron, donde se reprodujeron con otras mujeres, ya sea nativo mesoamericanas o de ascendencia africana. Pues ese es como el principal espacio o el espacio predilecto para estos individuos. Y sobre si hubo migración de Nueva España hacia Filipinas, me parece que la doctora Paulina Machuca ha estado investigando sobre ello y creo que no sé si africanos o esclavos africanos fueron llevados de Nueva España a las Filipinas, pero lo que sí sé es que me parece que son pocos indígenas, bueno, indios, por ejemplo, o los números de indios novohispanos son muy pocos sobre que hubieran viajado hacia las Filipinas, o nula este intercambio, pues, sino más bien la migración fue de Filipinas hacia Nueva España.
Okay.
Gracias.
So, yeah, first of all, la maestra Maricruz wanted to thank you for your kind words. And she said that there would be further studies in case you would like to refer to those written by Dr. Oropesa, Pauline Machuca, and Furlan, who can really talk about the migration or the sending of workers from the continent, from the Spanish continent to the Philippines. But she thinks that the introduction of the Indo-Chinese to the New Spain is of greater importance and number. First, they were sent to places precisely in the haciendas or the cacao plantations at the beginning of the 16th century in the Pacific coast. So the introduction of the cacao in Guayaquil meant a little bit of let's say down in New Spain, but then in its stead, because there is new cacao in Guayaquil, the coconut plantation, it seems, had its boom. As regards we have to just thank the Indo-Chinese because they mastered everything that had got to do with the plantation. They recognized the seeds, the season for planting. And it seemed that this skill was passed on to the Mesoamerican and the Africans who were in the area. And there was really that space, no, for these people in New Spain. But then it seems there is very little said about sending from Mexico to the Philippines. And she says that it will be Dr. Machuca who would be the expert on this. She says, I don't know if there were Negroes, no, or perhaps few Indios, if not zero, sent from New Spain to the Philippines. And I think that's just about it.
Thank you, Dr. Dr.
It's
Daisy Lopez.
okay.
I think we can accommodate one more question before we take our class picture. Mark Ritchie, please.
Yes. Yes. Good morning from the Philippines. And I'm a teacher of intercultural studies po in a Chinese university. So my question will be about intercultural aspects na ma'am. So in these days when essentialist labels such as Filipino-ness no, and Mexican-ness of food and culture are dominant in minds of ordinary people, how can we transcend these labels using history towards genuine cultural understanding? And a question to that is, how can we involve the grassroots, both in the Philippines and Mexico, in preserving and innovating even our shared food cultures as parts of our heritage? Thank you.
Okay. Él viene de Filipinas, es Mark Ritchie. Es profesor de estudios interculturales en una universidad china. Y su pregunta tiene que ver con normalmente tenemos etiquetas que hablamos del filipino-ness, la naturaleza o la esencia filipina en las comidas. La pregunta es cómo trascender todas estas etiquetas o prejuicios para poder llegar a una comprensión global y cultural que es auténtica, no solamente para el público en general, sino también llegando a la comunidad de base. La comunidad de base, de grassroots, para que haya realmente esa conciencia de luchar para conservar toda esta cultura que es rica y bonita.
Gracias. Pues como historiadora, creo que la manera de preservar o de llegar con la población de base, sí, con la población de a pie, es pues mediante la enseñanza escolar, o en las escuelas primarias con los niños, en la reproducción de los libros de texto, ya sea desde este lado del Pacífico o desde el lado asiático, ofreciendo la población de base con
Mr. Javier, can you mute your microphone, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Mediante la difusión, mediante conferencias, mediante en los museos, como difusión con los niños, con la población, con medios masivos. No sabría cómo estructurar ahora mismo un plan, un proyecto educativo, pero bueno, más bien es eso, como un proyecto educativo que contemple todos estos orígenes históricos y pues como lo mencioné al principio, que nos ayuden a comprendernos precisamente como una sociedad en conjunto, que no nos hemos construido de manera aislada, sino que siempre hemos sido receptores y hemos intercambiado nuestros conocimientos, toda nuestra cultura, nuestro saber hacer, y que es parte de lo que vivimos en la actualidad. No sabría.
Okay, so the answer of Maestra Maricruz as a historian, I really think there are various ways in order for us to preserve and also to spread this influence that we would like others also to know. Especially, as you mentioned, the grassroots community. We really have to start from the basics to teach this in schools, even starting them young in the primary grades of schools, to make sure that our textbooks would mention regarding this advocacy that we have. There has to be a necessary and clear foundation, for people to understand the influence of the Mexican culture or the Philippine culture in Mexican cuisine and vice versa. She mentioned other ways like conferences.
Catherine?
I think it's Jared. It's
Jared.
Jared.
Jared. Jared, please. Jared,
Okay.
please.
Okay, she mentioned other ways to preserve this culture through conferences and through museum exhibits, to have that awareness that constantly we would like to spread this message, from massive projects to smaller projects. But the idea is to educate, that all the projects that we have take into account what she said at the beginning. She said that we are a society that's not really isolated. We have to work as one. We are not simple, like passive viewers, but we are all receptors. We receive. As we receive, we also share what it is that we are able to learn from the others. And this is how we live history.
Thank you so
Gracias a
much.
todos.
Thank you so much, Maricruz, for that beautiful response. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have enough time. Let's give a round of applause to Maricruz Pisa Lopez and Dr. Daisy Lopez. Thank you so much. Now we will go to photo op. So we request our participants to turn on their video, for our photo. I think somebody from the embassy is taking up.
Sir Arnel, please.
Okay. Smile. First set muna tayo. Okay, second pane. 1, 2, 3. Open your camera, please. Okay, 1. 1, 2, 3. Third pane. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay po. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuya Arnel. We now call on Vice Consul Marisa Winkler for closing remarks.
Muchas gracias a todos. Estén bien. Hasta luego.
First, thank you to our resource speaker tonight, Maestra Maricruz, and to our translator, Dr. Daisy Lopez, and of course, Dr. Cristel Obispado. And to all our participants, thank you for being with us for the last 3 episodes. I hope the last 3 episodes made you want to learn more about the Philippine-Mexico relations. We have learned a lot during these 3 episodes, the cultural similarities, so many things, but I'm sure next year we will learn more. So I hope you will continue to participate. Please follow our Facebook page because we'll post the invitation there. And we also have other activities, other virtual events. I hope you can join us also. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cristel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Thank you, Vice Consul. Ma'am Daisy, thank you so much, sir. As Dr. Jorge Bayona, thank you. Thank you so much for your participation.
Buenas noches. Hasta luego.
Muchas
Hasta
gracias,
luego.
Maricruz. Muchísimas
Gracias.
gracias. Mil gracias, Maricruz.
A ustedes, muchas gracias por invitarme.
Vamos a enviarte mensaje después. Muchísimas
Sí.
gracias.
Gracias, que descansen, que tengan buen día.
Sí.
Maestra,
Thank you. Merry
felicidades,
Christmas.
felicidades.
Muchas
Gracias.
gracias.
Merry Christmas to everyone.